welcome to this episode of the Down the Foot podcast. On this week's episode, we've got quite a couple of topics to go over. Obviously, the Wanderers' capitulation against Pacific, and there was like some stadium stuff happening today. I know that Derek and Dave are really paying attention to it. I wasn't because that stuff just bores the shit out of me. So, welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, Anthony, how's it going?
Good, 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 good. I'm Tottenham had a big win on the weekend. So I'm pretty happy. Got to go see Oasis on the weekend. Even happier. So yeah, and Everton lost, which was a plus in all of this. Especially with big talking Dave there that thinks that they're going to win the Premier League this year. So guys,
And the Champions League. You
I'm
forgot that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Even though you're not in it, you're still going to win it. So the obviously the big thing this week, or today anyway, was a meeting of the minds in the council chambers. I guess they were voting. It just seems like so convoluted and fucking like they just seem to be voting on studies at this stage. Like it's so frustrating that that's where we're at with all this. So what exactly was the vote on today? What were your guys' takeaway? And are we any closer to having a permanent ground at the Wanderers grounds? Whoever wants to take that hot potato, go grab it.
I think we're a step closer, although maybe not as close as people might like. I mean, from what they were talking about today, it's a timeline of, I believe, 2028, 2029 to break ground. So we're a few years away from that even. But I think the thing for people to understand is this is part of a much larger planning process. And so they've been doing this plan for the Halifax Common, and the Wanderers block is sort of the last piece of that. And it's not the unfortunate reality is it's not just about the stadium. You've got other users in that block that are looking to do things and to expand and to move around as well. So you've got the Lancers that want to expand their facility. You got the lawn bowlers who, God love them, they're actually the one. They seem like the most flexible group. They're the one that's willing to move. You've got the public gardens folks want to put some type of a year-round botanical garden on the site, and then obviously the stadium. So it's about how all these pieces fit together. So today's vote was really just about they kind of looked at three different options for how they might configure the block, and did some high-level costing on each of them, and they've kind of been directed by council to go in, dig in a bit more, find out exactly what the financial contributions from each of the tenants is going to be, what the economic benefits look like, and come up with a recommended option of the three to move forward. So,
Wow. Yeah, it just yeah. It just seems like that Derek's plan that he had, yeah, he brought forward, kind of seems to have been pushed to one side because he had a very specific plan just for the Wanderers ground itself, and they want to incorporate, as you said there, like a lot of other things on top of it, which is obviously going to
yeah.
be a much higher cost. Which I think there's quite a few councillors kind of brought that up that the city can't afford it. Dave, what was your takeaways from it?
I have many takeaways, and obviously, I was there at the beginning when we were putting a lot of this stuff together. I think that what I would like to see is more discussion around what the community stadium part of this is going to be. So I think it's really important that people let their councillors know, hey, we do or we don't have enough facilities on the peninsula for, I'm just going to say, sports and recreation that people could use. And even if they don't put the potential for the dome over it that they had talked about, just from April 1st till November 1st, to be able to have more games, have more access for people on the peninsula, because turf time is tough to get. So we all know that could fill it up. And I think I've talked on this podcast before about it, where it's about $150 for 1 hour on a 1/3 field. So if somebody just puts that revenue model together with the contributions of Wanderers, Tides, other events, whether they are concerts, whether they are rugby games, whether they are, I don't know, whatever else could be on there, and really dig into the numbers, because I think my counselor is Counselor Morse, and I think she had the best question of the whole thing, which was like, how can I make a decision on this when nobody's told me how much we're going to be generating in revenue? And that was always the biggest thing I thought was missing. I didn't understand why there'd be a staff report with no offset. It's like, all right, if this thing is going to lose, just say, like, for argument's sake, for 30 years, it's a $1 million deficit based on like all the revenue they could bring in. How would we fund that? Would we fund that? Do we even think about it? Right. But those are the questions that they did not answer for me today. And again, Derek's original proposal was $40 million, but that was just the stadium with the sewer, water, and electric redone. It didn't have all these extras added on. I think it was just like, everyone else is okay, we'll just build a stadium around the footprint that we have. So I don't know where that sits, but to go from 40 million to 77 million is a big jump. So I'm anxious to see Derek's original costing and what that looked like, and how they got to 77 to 132 million when you add everything else in.
The timeline's definitely been affected because, I mean, among other things, I think the original plan called for the stadium to kind of be built in an off season, more or less, and now, there's a whole bunch of infrastructure stuff that has to be done in terms of redoing the sewer and wastewater on that site, and so you that kind of throws the original timeline right out the window. And then as Dave said, the costing, you got to recognize that the costing they're looking at now, like when they're talking figures over $100 million, that's to redo the entire block. That's not just for the stadium. So to the extent that people are throwing around numbers of 100 million or what have you to redo the stadium, that's not the stadium. That's the whole block, including everything that the horse people want to do, that the horticultural people want to do, et cetera. So Timelines different, budget's a bit different. I agree with Dave's comment about the fact that it's very odd for them to have done all the costing and not talk about the revenue side of things. I guess they're doing that at the next stage. But at this point, they sort of looked at the numbers with all the costing. And the other point I think that Dave made that's a good one is talking about the recreational benefits for the broader city on this. Like, I was a little surprised. One of the counselors today referred to this as a recreational facility as not being an essential. I can't remember how he cast it. It wasn't a key municipal service. I hugely beg to differ on that one. I think that's completely wrong. You talk to any parent, any kid in the city about how important the recreational facilities, whether it's stadiums, athletic fields, pools, whatever, are to the life of the city. That is a core municipal service, and HRM is frankly doing a poor job of delivering on that core municipal service in a lot of respects right now. And so any counselor that is saying that a recreational facility is not related to core municipal services is in the wrong line of work, because that is one of the key services that HRM delivers is recreational facilities.
I feel like there's a lot of like little kind of hot takes from people, like like weird questions that were asked as if like they haven't really studied what was going on with the whole thing. Like it just seems like they just think that it's the Wanderers just trying to get a bunch of money out of the city to build the stadium, and they're not actually looking at the bigger picture of what it actually entails of, the winter facilities, like the time when the Wanderers and the Tides aren't there. There's a lot to it. So obviously Derek released a statement there, and he said like the clock is ticking and the next phase needs to advance much faster than the previous one. So what do you think that he means by the clock is ticking, Dave?
I think that he always had a vision, and the league always had a vision of being involved with the 2026 World Cup. So the almost zero chance that could happen in this size. Now, the only thing that may be good with all these delays is that, for example, Derek had talked about incoming teams potentially using Halifax as a training center, great pace to jump off to New York, Boston, Toronto. So could you entice a national team to come here, host their training camp? That is a possibility now that you're keeping the grass in the stadium. But again, like Derek's not going to continue in a pop-up stadium for the rest of the Wanderers' existence. And people need to, they need to think about the Wanderers, the Tides, whatever else could come next, and if they value those things in their community or not. And I think we've all seen that it's not just soccer people coming out to watch these. These are community events. We're seeing with the success of the Tides, I'll just say off the field, Derek, because obviously the Winds haven't caught up yet, but they're making an impact in the community. They're making girls dream about playing at that level now, similar to what Campiel. And I would actually argue that they've advanced that faster than what we did on the men's side, because you're seeing those local people right away get into the lineup and get into the league. So, I mean, the clock is ticking because you can't keep working in a half-assed stadium. Sorry to use the A word there, but
one of the things I really emphasized in my email to council was the impact this has on youth and youth sports in the city, because I think there were some pretty disingenuous arguments from the Friends of the Halifax Commons about trying to pit this against youth sports, when in fact, I mean, this proposal has the support of most of the youth clubs in the city, and for good reason. I think I've said it before, but yeah, we need fields to play on, and this will be a field to play on, and one that's available through the winter, hopefully, if it's domed, which we don't have enough of right now. But kids need a field of dreams too, right? They need a place where they can go see their heroes play. And if they're able to go see them live and in person, as opposed to watching them on TV, that's a much better scenario for inspiring youth to get involved and stay involved in field sports in this city. And they can do it already with the Mooseheads and Thunderbirds and arena sports, and kids that play field sports deserve the same opportunity and the same inspiration, right? So I think that's a really important part of the argument here.
And just one more thing to throw in there. I really don't understand, and maybe it's just people that have never played on any turf before. It's going to be turf. It's not going to be grass. So just everybody needs to get that in their mind that when we move to this, it's a turf field. You replace it once every 10 years. And that is the cost for running that turf. You're not having people working on it all the time as you have to do with the Wanderers ground. So that cash savings is pretty minimal, but there was several people that asked, and I was like, this has been in every one of the proposals, so that they can use it all year long if they want to, and it gets maximum usage for all the youth sports.
I do think the one argument the club is going to need to address, though, there's a lot of arguments out there in the public that are a bit disingenuous, and you probably don't need to give them the time of day. The one thing I was hearing from councillors today, and this is even councillors that are in support and have long been in support, is that the city is in a budget crunch, and particularly on the capital investment side of things. And so I think to the extent, and the message I got back from my counselor was they need the clubs to be partners and not just tenants. And so any proposal that only involves them paying lease revenue, I think is probably a non-stop. And so they've got to, the clubs and the city have to work together and get creative to come up with ways to come up with a capital contribution, whether that's getting some corporate sponsorship on board for naming rights to help cover upfront costs, stuff like that. There's financing options that they can probably do that are a bit creative, but I think a little creativity is going to be needed to address that, because the reality is, although it's a problem of their own making, the HRM is in a tight financial situation, particularly on the capital side, and has a lot of demands on its capital budget right now. And so they're going to need creative options to make the funding work. And I think a fairly clear message from a number of councillors today was sort of the tenant-only option isn't going to fly. So we've got to find other ways to do this.
I think some of the councillors will be happy for it just to stay as a temporary pop-up stadium forever, which is not viable. Even with the proposals today, we're looking at probably another 10 years of where we are, however long it's going to take to build everything is going to take quite a while. So it just feels like everything's just being pushed out onto the long arm, and another report, and then there'll be another report and another report, and as you said there, the city is in a kind of a crunch, and I think a lot of the councils are probably afraid to go back to the electorate and say, oh yeah, I'm in agreement of us paying 100 million to have a stadium, but it is going to be very difficult for the councils as well, like for we still got two very new leagues, and with the history of the way leagues exist in North America, that they're very volatile. So I think that's a part of the issue too, and I think you're right, Derek, that the clubs might have to put their money where their mouth is a little bit and kind of like row in behind it and come up with something that, like whether that's being creative or just have money up front to kind of put towards it because they are asking the city when you look at it from the city's point of view, they are asking for quite a lot in the middle of housing crisis and all the other kind of things that we've got going on. So it's going to be interesting to see. Like it just feels like it's just so long away. Like we were so excited when Derek came along with the proposal that it was going to be like what a 2 year turnaround time and hopefully be ready for 2026. And now it's like they're talking 2029, and we all know with city planning that that's like a dream target. That's probably going to be out even further than that. And I'm sure anybody's listened to the podcast. I just hate the fact of like where we are as a city that we have this pop-up stadium. It's great for the purpose, and as Derek said himself, that it was there to show the city that the club is viable. They're going to get the attendance, what they're going to bring to the downtown. But now it's time for us to grow up a little bit and actually have a proper facility. So it's just when I was watching like some of the messages go through today of what people were kind of reporting back what their councillors were saying, some of them don't seem to have a fucking clue about any of it. Some are really clued in, and then others just seem to be on the fence with the whole thing, and are just like, I've got other priorities. So it's gonna be a tough road ahead. I think. I don't think it's gonna be any kind of plain sailing. And Dave, I totally get where you're coming from when you say that. Like Derek just can't keep doing this through a pop-up stadium. Like, so there was a rumor, or somebody had mentioned to me that the actual stadium infrastructure that's there right now, the city took over. Is that true? So the city actually owns all the bleachers and all that kind of stuff. So what was the purpose of them taking that from the Wanderers? Like, what are they maintaining all that now? So are they paying for the upkeep of the pop-up stadium?
Yeah, so the city bought everything that's there so that they could manage and control it because you didn't want to have the Halifax Wanderers support staff trying to service the tides, right? That's not really their job. So I think in order to be fair to the tides, the city bought that equipment. And obviously they'll write that down as capital cost over time. And it could be used in other places. So, for example, if you did build the stadium seating on side, they could repurpose those stands very quickly. I think in the first draft, you're not repurposing the shipping containers anyway, so those would be staying probably pretty close to as is, I think. It just depends what they would do with like the locker rooms and that side of it. And I think like what we are missing, and I think another piece that's missing is like, what does a long-term financial commitment look like from the city? Because like we're throwing all these big numbers out. It's all going to be financed on a bond for like 30 plus years, right? So yes, you see that big, hairy, scary number, but in reality, what you want to look at is what are we paying per year? What's the interest rates that we're getting on those long-term mortgage, essentially? And then is all the revenue we're generating going to offset and pay for the city staff that are going to need to be on site, any repairs, and going towards that, paying off that capital investment, which then goes on your books, right? So in the end, it becomes a great asset for you. And if you keep talking about it as a soccer only specific stadium, that's not going to get the feds excited. That's not going to get the province excited. If you talk about it serving all these different populations, though, then those guys will be at least into the conversation. But if you're like, we're going to fund a pro soccer stadium, that's not working. So it's going to be really important that they pitch that properly. And I'm sure they have the right people, and they've been talking to those people provincially and federally, because there is a lot of money for infrastructure as long as it's being used for the greater good.
Has any other kind of sporting organizations kind of come in behind the Tides and the Wanderers? Like, is there like Nova Scotia Rugby, or is anybody else or is it just those two are just kind of fronting the whole thing? Are they the face of the whole thing?
I haven't heard anything. I know in the first round of reports, there had been something from Soccer Nova Scotia and maybe the clubs, but I haven't heard anyone be vocal on it recently. The thing, I just don't know what what people are going to say at this point, except yes, we would guarantee that we'll take 20 hours a week of turf time for the whole year, and that's going to be this, or we'll come on as a tenant. I think it's going to be up to the Wanderers and Tides to like say we'll come in for this amount of money on a per year, and I'm sure both would lend their expertise to generating sponsorships for that venue. And I think is Amira 150 a year for the Oval? Like that would go a long way towards offsetting any of the costs that are being seen on the stadium.
The Down the Pub podcast soccer bowl. I could give them like $100 a year, I guess. You
That'll
know.
be the down the pub urinal. That's what you'll be getting.
Not even the toilet, just the urinal. All right, well, I'm sure like this is just a conversation that's just gonna roll on and roll on and roll on, and it's like if I feel bad for the supporters because these votes come up and everybody gets kind of a little bit excited, and it's just another report. So yeah, we'll keep watching, and hopefully sense prevails, and we get a ground for the greater good, not just for football, but for all of those sports out there that require recreational facilities. So, moving on to even happier news, we blew a 2-goal lead out west. Just thought I'd bring the tone up a little bit. So. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on where did it all go wrong? Like we like I noticed it's I don't mean to be negative, but you kind of have to be when you look at the game overall. We were coasting, we were control that game. If you look at the stats, we should have been out of sight. Like where did it all go wrong, lads? Somebody please answer.
Anthony, where did it go wrong? So on the first one, I think it was a giveaway pretty deep in their zone, a break, and then a decision not to foul that was made probably several times. I was trying to like replay how many people had a chance to take him out, and that unfortunately did not happen, leading to chaos in the back line. And as I watched those replays, I'm just like, did anyone say go to him? Like these are where I'm like TMG and Yesley, like they should have been guiding the guys of who's going in to make the tackle, because at one point it looked like 3 guys were going to the ball, and then Sal's trying to get back to the 2 guys that were wide open on the other side. So that was not a great look, unfortunately. And then the second one for me is just pure goalkeeper error. Again, everyone's got to say, well, why did they foul him so close to the top of the 18? They should have done it way before and taken the yellow card. But that is poor from the goalkeeper. And it was just poor. Like, and I don't know who he was yelling at in his wall, because that was at his near post where he should have been covering. And to me, that's an unacceptable goal to allow in a game like that. When if you got into halftime 2-1, I think we would have been feeling pretty good about trying to see that one out.
So do you think it was like sorry, Derek, do you think it was like a positional error from Yesley? I know Derek, you kind of were talking a little bit about it. So just, what were your thoughts? Do you just think that he was too far over? Or he should have been like more towards the post?
Yeah, Dave's right. His wall is covering the right hand side of his net. He was standing dead center. It's his job to cover the left. So he's just out of position there. And Dave said, I don't know who he's yelling at afterwards, because that's on him. 0.16 xG Pacific had in the first half, and we conceded 2 goals. That shouldn't happen. So that's a combination of defensive errors and goalkeeper error on the first goal and goalkeeper error on the second. But yeah, there's no way that second one. We were in control of the match up until that point as well, which is what makes it disappointing. I mean, obviously, I think both teams came into this game. It was a scenario where they both want to win. Neither could really afford to lose, because had Pacific lost, they would have lost a ton of ground to us in that potential playoff race for 5th. If we lose, all of a sudden they're breathing down our neck. And so I will say I think we were actually more proactive in going for the win. I think Pacific was sitting a lot of the time in a 5-4-1, and so they were playing very defensively low block, and understandably, because we've had difficulty breaking down low blocks in the past. But so I mean, I would give us credit for our game plan was proactive, and I think we were playing for a win, whereas Pacific was content to prepare to play not to lose or to draw. But Yeah, and just poor communication and poor goalkeeper error cost us. And then the rest of the game from there, they were able to kind of see it out. So
Yeah, I think like conceding a goal that quick after scoring one is criminal. Like we all know, like Aiden Daniels has been here for a couple of years, and we kind of know he has that in his locker. But like I mean, at the same time though, he's not Messi either, right? And I don't think he should be slaloming through our whole back line to set up a chance for something. Like I mean,
no, he's an incredibly easy player to frustrate if you foul him, actually, which is something we should know because we saw it many, 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 many times how easy he is to frustrate. And so, if anything, he should have been an easy player to target, to foul, and to frustrate. And instead, we let him walk through our entire team to score a goal. So.
Yeah, it was like watching it was very very frustrating. Like Dave, I totally agree to this. Like you kind of like two or three moments before somebody should have just like kind of clipped his legs and just take the yellow, and you kind of set yourself down then because conceding a goal like that, panic sets in, right? Because you've gone from the elation to straight like down to earth kind of thing. Like it was just kind of annoying, but I think the setup we kind of went with the same team more or less that we had against Calgary, and I thought we were great from the start. I think we came out of the blocks there, like really like going for the win, as you said, and we were miles ahead of them. Like Sean Ray again, I thought was phenomenal. I think he's like such a good player, and you just want to see him play and get these opportunities. Like I mean, the pass to set up the second goal. There's not many people in this league that can pull that off. So, do you think that would you guys like to see him continue to be in the team, or like do you think he's better as an impact player off the bench? What's your guys' thoughts?
No, he has to start. I mean, especially now with Provo being gone, if you give him that free role, and so what I do really like about that shape, even though like again, 3-4-3 or 5-2-3, whatever you want to call that, your two inside guys behind Tiago get to be free and get to roam. Now, I felt like Vitor was actually holding one side a little bit more than when Rea was, but Rea just went everywhere and guys were looking for him. And I think, Anthony, that you've said this several times around how we will defer to Lorenzo. I'm like, we got to give him the ball. We got to give him the ball. Well, today, the game, we saw people looking for Rea, right? Not looking for Lorenzo all the time for the easy pass. They were looking for Rea because it's like, this guy's on fire. Just get him the ball and like, let's go create. So if that is I'm happy for us to die on that hill with this lineup. If this is like the people that he's going to play, I think this is the right lineup for us to play in and open up our most creative players, which is Vitor and it's Sean and it's Tiago up top. That's what it needs to look like. And you just build a very strong defensive base, which will help us against any of those Calgarys and Hamiltons and Ottawas.
We talked a little bit about, I think it was a Calgary game, about Perlman was kind of struggling a little bit. In this game, it was the complete opposite. He looked so good there. I just want to kind of get your thoughts on his performance because I think he made the team of the week. Was there any difference in how he was played, or do you just think that he was up against an easier opponent?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the matchup worked for him. I mean, obviously, the last two games he's played in a slightly different role than we had him in previously. So it's more of a wing back or wide midfielder role, as opposed to kind of the hybrid role we had him in before. It really did seem to suit him in this game. I mean, the two players we've been talking about on that Thiago goal, Rea's long diagonal ball across the field was something very few players in this league could do. And then Perlman absolutely cooked his mark to get past him and get the ball through to Thiago. So, I mean, just a superb goal all around. Another player that kind of impressed me in this match was, and made me wonder why he hasn't been playing more, was Jefferson Alphonse. There was one or two times where I thought maybe the communication with the other defenders was a bit poor, but I think that's a function of having been out of the lineup for so long. But he is clearly much more mobile than most of our center backs, both with and without the ball. And so if we've got that system, and we still seem to be trying to do that thing where we get center backs to make little runs into the box periodically, like you want a quicker defender to be or a mobile defender to be doing that. So I thought he had a promising game, and hopefully we see more of him in this new system.
Gary, or Voldemort, as he shall not be known, the man whose name we cannot mention, he actually made an observation about Alphonse last year, that he's a very good ball carrying defender, and I think we've kind of been missing that a little bit. We've had we've had a lot of play just been across the back line and not going forward too much. I mean, having somebody who can kind of break the lines a little bit and just carry the ball for you kind of just gives you an option because it creates space. So yeah, I think he's been really, really good, and it's good that he's actually getting a run of games. Just kind of, again, like I just think that we're lacking depth again for the critical parts of these games. Like I think that these Pacific were definitely there for the taking. I don't think that Diaz was in the game at all. I think that we created like quite a lot of chances, but it's again we just you just want somebody to come in and just like make a change, like up front, and the clock is ticking on the transfer. When is it closed, the transfer window?
Thursday, I think.
Yeah, because we've seen a few teams add players in the last like little bit. Still no word on us doing anything. Like, so would you guys like to see a striker come in, or is there any position you think that we're still having some issues in that you'd like to see us now a Probo gone? I guess it'll probably open up a little bit of space for us. So
I still think it's that attacking option because I don't think, and I like Bai and I like Bahambula, I don't think they've shown the consistency to really crack open a game for us. Like, I think they do a very serviceable job, but I think that front three that we have right now is probably the best front three we're going to have. And when we get to the playoffs, like, you're going to cut down those sub minutes anyway. So is there someone else we can go get that is a goal scorer that might be playing in that Vitor role? Like, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. That, again, lets Sean be a free spirit and might hold more of a central or more to one side, but we know can score. And I think, again, if I look back over the last few games, we're just missing the finishing. And it hasn't been the sitters this time, but it's just been like that blast from Rhea that the keeper saved, the header off TMG that the keeper went out. These are good saves, but we need to take more advantage of those opportunities.
that's the thing. Like, I mean, we had 20 shots in this game, which is an insane number, and 7 on target. And it's but on the flip side, like you shouldn't have to be scoring 3 or 4 goals to win games. Like two should be enough. Especially like no disrespect to Pacific, but they're not a very good team. Like they're not being bad, but I don't think they caused us that many problems apart from the goals. Like there was not much about them. I think Josh Hare, like Chung was probably their best player on the day. I think Baldisimo kind of did okay. Daniels obviously had his little cameo, but yeah, like I, you can see the boy there's a gap between us. Like we're definitely head and shoulders, and it just feels like that confidence piece is what's lacking in us right now. I think early in the season we would have put this game to bed pretty easily. So I think the game on Friday now is critical. We need a win basically. Like Valor should be a winnable game at home. Do you think that there's going to be like riots on the streets, Derek, if we don't win that game? Led by you?
Well, I mean, Valor's just brought in defending CPL goalkeeper of the year, Emil Gazov, on loan from CF Montreal, right? So they've added a couple of pieces, and that the lack of depth does still in certain positions does still concern me a little bit, and the fact that everybody around us in the standings seems to be adding players. So Calvary's brought back Dan Klomp, Valor's added Gazdov, and they brought in another defender from MLS Next Pro today. Pacific added a few pieces. Obviously, and it remains to be seen how they'll work out. But I mean, everybody else around us in the playoff picture seems to be adding depth, and it is a concern I think that we haven't. So yeah.
Yeah, we might see Derek kind of be like Harry Redknapp. They'll stop him on his way out and have his arm at the window of the car and say that he's working on some deals for us and pull somebody out that we're not expecting. So let's
Well,
hope.
we're gonna have two new players, like new signings, right? Like Mekadesh and Dunn when they make it back, and then we will have our full complement of center backs.
Well, that's what I've been worried about. That it's just like we do not have enough depth in the in the defense portion of the team. So yeah, I'm super excited about that too. Oh God. Anyway, yeah, I just think a win. There's with the stadium stuff going on, we're on a kind of what six game winless streak. I just think a win on Friday will just kind of snap all that out and kind of make people feel a little bit better. I just think we just need a win just to kind of lift the. There's a little bit of a gloom around things now, especially with the Pro Bowl situation, and that's been confirmed that the contract's been terminated and all that kind of stuff. I just feel like we just need a little bit of a boost. So a new signing or a win will definitely make everybody feel a little bit happier. So Derek, Tides.
Speaking of 6 game winless streaks,
Yeah, yeah.
smooth transition
Yeah,
there.
it's a Halifax trait. So what's going on? Another hearty special about the 1-0 loss. So
Yeah, on the wrong side of a 1-0 result this time. So yeah, I mean it is. I think we talked about this previously. I do think that since Steven's come on board, the team has become more defensively solid, but we're not offering a lot going forward at the moment. And so 6 games winless, 1 goal scored in that time, and that needs to change, and that needs to change quickly. I do think they've added. I still stand by the fact that I think they've added some pieces that have the potential to score goals. And in this game, unfortunately, Amanda Allen was in the starting lineup and then got pulled. So presumably she suffered some type of injury in pregame, which is unfortunate because I think she's one of those pieces that can be a goal scoring threat for us. Stephen Hart wasn't actually there either. So apparently he had booked a vacation or booked some time off or something before he took on the Tides role and had told him that he would not be available for this match. So Katie Barrett, who's one of the assistant coaches, stepped up and took the helm. Aaron McLeod was out, has been out for a little bit. And then Annika Toth, who's our backup, who has been starting lately, also somehow got hurt prior to the match. And so our third string keeper started with a under 18 as a backup. So it was quite the trip for substitutions and people stepping into roles. But yeah, we didn't offer a lot going forward in this game. I don't think we had a decent chance on net before the 55th minute. They scored off a throw-in, which frankly shouldn't happen. That many players shouldn't be caught out of position on a set piece like that. And so yeah, we need to start seeing some goals for sure.
Yeah, it's even when Stephen was in charge of the Wanderers, we weren't renowned for our high scoring games, really. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he's going to be able to turn things around to 1 goal and 6. That's fucking abysmal, isn't it? Like having to sit through that. He's got to love the fans. He's a very, very brave bunch there, Derek. The club should be proud of you all. Jesus Christ, it's like watching Everton. Okay, so so yeah, yeah, it's just been another kind of a eventful week in the life of football here in Halifax. The city, the fans, and it's not everybody just deserves to have some sort of a permanent stadium. Like we seem to be growing exponentially every year as a population, and all these high rises are going up everywhere, and the city itself just doesn't seem to be keeping pace about what's going on. Like whether it's the transport infrastructure, the recreational infrastructure, like all of these people that are moving here and live here need things to do and need to be able to get around. And the city, you can't try and entice as many people that quickly to come here to work and to live if you don't keep pace with it. And I think they need to get their mindsets away from the small city vibes. And I was kind of saying before we come on that it does feel like everybody just kind of worries about their own district. And Derek, you had a really good analogy for it if you want to share with the people here.
I think I said that it sometimes feels like rather than functioning as a city, we function as a bunch of small towns that actively hate each other that have been forced. So I said, to use a Simpsons analogy, it's like you amalgamated Springfield and Shelbyville, and then they're trying to work together to make decisions. So, I mean, I will say, like, if people want to understand how the city has found itself in the budgetary situation it's in, Matt and Martin have had some good analysis on that on their City Hall podcast, Grand Parade. They've done quite a few episodes that look at how the city budgets, some of the problems with the capital budget, why the city's in the financial situation it's in. So don't listen to their football podcast because it's not nearly as good as this one.
Oh yeah,
Joking.
definitely. Yeah.
Joking, obviously, yeah. But yeah, if you haven't given their City Hall podcast a listen, it's worth it because you do get some of that analysis that gives you the context for why we're in the situation we're in with the stadium. So
do we have to put one of those like paid partnership things? Are you being paid for this or?
They're sending me one of those. They're sending me one of those football kits for free.
You get a 15% discount.
That's
right. Well, lads, thanks so much for hanging out. Interesting times ahead as always, and I won't be there on Friday because I'm going to Oasis. I'm leaving for my first trip ever to Toronto on Saturday morning. I'm going to try and make the York game on Sunday because it's on before the Oasis concert. I think they should have gone with an Oasis team. They should have give away like bucket hats or something, attract the Oasis crowd to go in and watch the football beforehand. But what do I know, right? All right, lads. Thanks a mil.
Take care.
Come on, you Wanderers. Leave you out. Come on, you Tides. What else do I need to say?
Come on, you stadiums.
Come on, you Stadiums. There we go.
Come on, you
Thank you.
Stadiums.
Take care, lads.
Everybody